Hi everyone, welcome back to the Caistrology channel, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Kaylin and today we're going to be looking at your December 2025 horoscopes. I am filming this while Mercury is retrograde conjunct Mars, so please bear with me. I'm a double Mercury ruled person, so these ones always hit me pretty hard. In any case, today we're going to be looking at the full moon in Gemini, the new moon in Sagittarius, and of course we've got Mars in Sagittarius making a square with Saturn in Pisces and then Neptune in Pisces. So you can watch your horoscope for your ascendant, sun and moon sign. I do recommend that you watch all three if you have the time. If you've only got time to watch one horoscope, then I would start off with your ascendant, also known as your rising sign horoscope. So in other news, I'm on Instagram and Facebook, so you can follow me at Caistrology. If you're wanting to book a private one-on-one reading, you can do so via caistrology.com. All the links are below. So without further ado, let's just get straight into your December horoscope. Hi Aquarius Sun, Moon and Risings, welcome to your December 2025 horoscope. As the month begins, Venus will enter the sign of Sagittarius. So we've got Venus transiting your 11th house for the first 3.5 weeks of the month. We've also got the sun here too, as it is Sagittarius season. So I can tell you straight up that this whole month, your 11th house is activated like crazy. So that means that there's such a massive focus on your wider network, on your community, on your long-term goals and dreams, as well as friendships and collaborations and so on and so forth. So Venus will bring pleasure, enjoyment, and even good fortune to whichever house it's transiting. So Venus going through the 11th house tells me that December's a really sociable or social time for you, let's say. So there can be a lot of events that you are invited to, or maybe that you're even hosting potentially. And also this could see you putting energy and attention into passive forms of income or residual forms of income. Venus here in your 11th house could indicate that there are awards or accolades that you may be receiving. Okay, so that is another way that that could play out. And lastly, because Venus is the planet of love and romance, whichever house Venus transits, this is where there can be romantic developments. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that, all year, every month, we've got a romantic development here, there, and everywhere. But with such an activation to your 11th house and Venus sextiling you, there is potential for there to be romance with someone that you are friends with, or potentially like a friend of a friend, or someone who is in your wider network, or maybe there'll be love and romance that takes off online. Okay, so it's not going to be the case for everyone, only take it as it resonates. Now, on the 4th or the 5th of December, depending where you live in the world, there will be a full moon in your 5th house. So that will be in Gemini at 13 degrees. So we've got the chart up on the screen here. Now, the full moon will be trining you, which is really positive. So the Aquarians who will experience the strongest trine would be those at 13 degrees or even plus or minus 3 to 5 degrees. So we could say around about 8 degrees through till 18 degrees. In any case, the 5th house rules over our hobbies, our passions, our natural gifts and talents, as well as children, and also love, sex, romance, plus starting your own business or your own business if you have one. All right. So the full moon in your 5th house could indicate that there's maybe a development on one of those fronts. So for example, you could be launching a new business, or if you already own your own business, then maybe this is like a new product or a new service that you're looking at offering and releasing out into the world. On a different note, because the 5th house is basically one of the most creative houses in astrology, the other one being the 12th house, this could play out as you completing some kind of creative project or artistic project. Maybe you are giving a public speech around the time of the full moon. Potentially, you could be giving some kind of athletic performance as well. And I just want to note that 13 degrees is the Aries degree in astrology. So with 13 degrees, what I've noticed is that there's some kind of fast-paced energy to it. Sometimes there can be like conflict or something that's uncomfortable going on there, or we're needing to make changes and adjustments and plans like on the fly. Also, as you'll see if you look at the chart, the full moon is squaring the nodes exactly at 13 degrees. So you could feel as though there's some kind of divine plan at work with this full moon, or something that's actually like beyond your control, outside of your control, external events that are influencing how things are going with your business, with your child or your children, with your love life, or with any kind of athletic or creative or individualistic performance that you may be giving around the 4th or the 5th of December, plus or minus 1 to 2 weeks. Because the 5th house rules over children, if you do have children, then this could indicate that there's some kind of notable chapter that's coming to a close in their life, some sort of ending, or maybe some sort of leveling up, okay, especially if they're younger. Maybe that's like a developmental stage and there's some sort of maybe surprise that happens with your child. So for example, it's like, you know, they're of age, they're allowed to date, and they're like, yeah, I've got a boyfriend, and you're like, what? You know, or maybe they are advancing to another level in terms of their studies, so that maybe they're too advanced for their existing level. There could be some test or some challenge that they are completing or competing in. Okay, so there could just be a development with your child where they are very quickly transitioning from one stage of their life to another stage, even if they're older, right? So lastly, with this one, as it relates to love and romance, maybe things are developing like really quickly with someone. They could have been slow at the start, and now it's like mover and shaker decisions in that relationship. And let's just keep it moving, shall we? Because we're only at the beginning of the month. So Aquarius, on the 9th of December, Mars in Sagittarius in your 11th house is going to square Saturn in Pisces at 25 degrees in your 2nd house. So fortunately for you, you guys, I feel, have it easy just because all of this astrological activity, well, most of it is occurring in your 11th house, and that's one of the luckiest houses in astrology, and everything in Sagittarius is sextiling you. So don't get me wrong, Mars square Saturn and Mars square Neptune a few days later, that's still tense, right? But you are better positioned to handle it or come out on top, let's say. So both the 11th house and the 2nd house in astrology are money houses. So there could be some kind of awakening, I want to say, where it becomes abundantly clear that your long-term financial situation requires adjustments in the present for that to be sustainable, if that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't, but let's just keep it moving, shall we? So you may have to, or decide that you need to reconfigure some things or reprioritize when it comes to passive forms of income, as well as what your current spendings are in terms of budget. Okay, so you may need to sell off some assets or investments. When I say need, you may decide. Okay, so you may decide that you want to be a bit more intentional about all the ways in which you are making money and all of your budgets and expenditures, etc. Maybe you are making decisions about long-term projects and deciding that you actually need to cut down on some of your projects, some of your offerings, some of your collaborations because you're needing to tighten the purse strings, or maybe you're wanting to have more energy in the tank to be able to put that time and attention and energy into things that are going to be more long lasting or yield more bountiful results in the long term. Okay, on a different note, Mars transiting your 11th house and making this square to Saturn in your second house could see there being a difference of opinion that you have with older siblings, people in your wider network, people that you collaborate with. And then Saturn in your second house is like, what are your values? What's truly important to you? And even like, it's not about how is this going to look. It's more about authenticity, which Sagittarius is very concerned with, right? And Saturn, I repeat, is your chart ruler. So you may have to ask yourself, are the long-term projects that you're involved in, are the collaborations that you're engaged in truly authentic, and are they going to get you where you want to go, where you want to end up? So I really feel like there are some hard decisions that you are making, but when I say hard, it's not like they're unmakeable. It's more like it involves your ethics and your values and your priorities, and really just having to honor that there's only so much energy and effort and attention you can put into certain things, and that does include relationships that are maybe not in alignment, right? So on the 10th of December, Neptune is going to station direct in Pisces at 29 degrees in your second house. So this is the last time that we're going to see Neptune in Pisces. You know, we've got just another month and a half to go. So now that Neptune is direct, we're on the home stretch, and I think that a lot of people will be able to breathe a sigh of relief because Neptune's hard enough at 29 degrees, which is the anaretic degree, but now it's in direct motion. So we're going to start getting clarity over the next few weeks. In any case, on the 12th of December, Mercury is going to re-enter the sign of Sagittarius. So this is helpful for you in the sense that Mercury is no longer squaring you from Scorpio. You know, Venus was also squaring you. Like, November looks like there was a lot going on. It doesn't mean that it was quote unquote negative or difficult. It's more just, it seemed to be like a very dynamic month, lots of changes, lots happening with like your career and maybe your public reputation or your responsibilities. And then this month, there's still a lot of pieces of the puzzle to put together, and maybe there are things that you're still waiting on an answer for, or people from like waiting on answers from certain people. But it seems like you are better able to plan, or at least you know like when certain things are going to come to an end, if that makes sense. So with Mercury re-entering Sagittarius in your 11th house, maybe this can see you talking with people in your wider network, with clients, maybe picking old projects or collaborative ideas back up, especially if they were discussed between end of October and the first 2.5 weeks of November. So long story short, Mercury re-entering Sagittarius in your 11th house is now going to sextile you. So this can improve things on the level of communications with clients, with people in your wider network, and maybe you're making some important pivots or adjustments to your long-term goals and plans and projects for the future. Okay, so Aquarius, on the 14th of December, Mars in Sagittarius in your 11th house is going to square Neptune in Pisces in your second house at 29 degrees. So this can see there being a moment of indulgence, maybe overindulgence when it comes to your spending habits. So you just want to make sure that you're not like really overpaying for something that comes up around the 14th of December, because Mars in the 11th house can be like, I want to invest, I don't want to wait, I want to act. And the square to Neptune in the second house is like, okay, but are you getting what you're paying for? Or if you're agreeing to pay someone for something, or to price something up, or give a quote, or even if you're on the receiving end of a quote, I just want you to really make sure that this thing is worth the time, it's worth the money, this person is worth what they're wanting to charge, because there is this potential to be taken for a ride, and let's just say like impulse buying or impulse spending. I mean, on a different note, this could see you sacrificing something from your diet or from what you usually spend money on, because Neptune represents surrender, it represents sacrifice, and the second house is like food, sugar, what we indulge in, what we spend on, those little luxuries. And I know we spoke about the Mars Saturn square and finances in that way too. So Neptune could see you like giving something up, right? Whether that is or drastically reducing it. So those little luxuries, maybe sugar, maybe something else. You can let me know in the comment section below if there's something that you're wanting to give up. It doesn't necessarily need to be food related. It could just be something that you often buy for the house, or money that you spend on yourself, maybe even money that you spend on someone else, and you're like, I can't be doing this anymore, right? So with Mars in Sagittarius in your 11th house squaring Neptune in Pisces in your second house, this could result in some sort of differing of opinion with maybe a friend, someone in your wider network, an older sibling, or perhaps it's to do with your community, maybe a community that you're part of or that you've created, and there could be a situation that arises where you're like, maybe I should walk away from this. Maybe it's not in alignment anymore. On a different note, the shoe could be on the other foot, where it's like, I want to create this community. I want to create this network, and maybe there's like a real spiritual element to it. Maybe it's to do with yoga or meditation or something related to esotericism, just as an example. Just quickly before we move on to Mars entering Capricorn, just wanted to mention that I am going to be hosting an online manifestation workshop, which I've chosen to coincide with the Mars-Neptune square, because Mars is all about taking action and Neptune represents divine inspiration and our imagination, and of course Pisces is like representative of our dreams. So I figured, what better time to host it than when we've got the Mars-Neptune square, so that we can really harness the positive side of that aspect and put it into practice. So if you're wanting to know more about that, you can click on the link in the description box below. Nevertheless, let's keep it moving. So Aquarius, on the 15th of December, Mars is going to enter the sign of Capricorn, which means it's going to be transiting your 12th house. So Mars going through the 12th house can be a transit where we don't get as much sleep because we want to be productive, or we're busy cutting out bad habits that no longer serve us, or just facing our fears and our insecurities head on. Mars transiting your 12th house would be a really positive time for you to cultivate some kind of spiritual practice or discipline. So that could be yoga, meditation, maybe channeling energy into learning astrology or learning about the tarot. And also the 12th house rules over the subconscious. So this is where we find self-sabotaging behaviors arise. Fortunately, when Mars goes through the 12th house, because Mars can be like a ruthless planet, it can really help us to eliminate self-sabotaging behaviors. It can help us to take accountability and to basically get to the root cause of certain fears, certain insecurities, and so on and so forth. So moving along, on the 20th of December, we've got the new moon in Sagittarius in your 11th house at 28 degrees. It's conjunct Venus, it's sextiling you. It is also conjunct the galactic center, which gives it a real spiritual edge, and not to mention very, very potent for bringing our dreams and intentions into life. So I always do this anyway, but I'll just share it with you. Every new moon, I write down what I want to bring into my life, what I want to manifest into my life. I know manifestation can be like, cringe buzzword, but still, new moon in the 11th house, if you are wanting more friends, a new community, to expand your existing community, a goal, a project that you can sink your teeth into and that can produce positive results in the long term. If you're wanting a passive or residual form of income to come through, then this new moon in your 11th house could see a new chapter or a new beginning across one or more of those fronts playing out. Because this new moon is conjunct Venus, which is the planet of love and relationships, this could indicate a new romantic development or connection that's coming through around the time of the new moon. It doesn't have to be with a new person that you've never met before. You know, this could be someone that you're friends with, because it's the 11th house and it's like, oh, okay, I think I'm into this person, or vice versa, and then things can take off in that direction. So you can see here in the chart that the new moon is actually square Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, which are in your second house. To me, this just indicates that there may be untold sacrifices that you may have to make, or it could even be gains where it's like, okay, I start this new thing and I don't even know what benefit is going to come into my life. Okay, so obviously we're sort of inverting the interpretation there, but just remember, Neptune is like sacrifice and surrender, and Saturn is like, no, let me ground this into being. So it really, if you're wanting to expand your wider network, if you're wanting to form a new community, if you're wanting to generate a new stream of income that's passive in nature or residual in nature, or even apply for something like a government grant, scholarship, the pension, etc., then there may be some scope or some room here for you to take action towards those things. And let's just keep going, Aquarius. We're nearly done. On the 21st or the 22nd of December, depending where you live in the world, Capricorn season will begin. And then on the 24th or the 25th of December, Venus is going to enter Capricorn too. So we'll have Mars, Sun, and Venus all transiting your 12th house. So there really is a big focus on spirituality, on facing your fears, facing your insecurities, some kind of new creative project or artistic talent that you are maybe discovering or simply pursuing. Okay, so That's all I have for you for December, Aquarius. If you enjoyed this horoscope, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more content on this channel, please hit the subscribe button. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as well, which is just Caistrology if you're wanting to see more content from me before the next video comes out. In any case, enjoy the rest of the year and I'll see you in 2026.